Hey, welcome back to Infernal Studios. Today I'll be showing you how to get a glam metal guitar tone for absolutely free. We'll be using amp sims, of course, and well, let's just get to it. So I'll leave links for all the main plugins that I use down in the description below, so you can go download them. I'll even leave the links for the cabinet impulses that I'm using. So let's get to it. First we have a DI track. I recorded myself trying to play Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. I learned it 5 minutes ago, so if it's not perfect, please don't kill me. So if you take a listen to it. Okay, so it's just a basic DI. The first thing we'll be using is some EQ. And this isn't a necessary step, it's just something that I would still recommend you do. And I'm just taking away a little bit of the low end here, so we don't have as much mud going on. So a nice cut at 237 Hertz. Once you're done with that, the first thing I would recommend is getting a noise gate. I'm using the one that comes with Reaper, but obviously you can use any other sort of noise gate you want. So it's a pretty basic guitar gate. We've got 3 milliseconds of attack and 100 milliseconds of release, and that's about it. Now I recommend getting this because this plug-in chain does get pretty noisy. Next is the main plugin we're gonna get the sound from. This is a Marshall emulation. I'll leave the link in the description. Of course, it's a free amp simulator, and it does a pretty good job of emulating a Marshall amplifier. You can see my settings. Obviously you should adjust these to fit your sound or the song, whatever, but this should give you the basic idea. Now obviously if we take a listen to this, I'll lower the volume quite a bit because this will be loud. It's gonna sound like shit. That's because we need a cabinet impulse, of course. So I recommend getting just about any cabinet loader. I'm using Le Cab 2 by Pauli. It's French, I don't know how to pronounce it, okay? And I'm using Redwire's Marshall cab emulation, using a Shure SM57 microphone from 3 inches away. Obviously you can choose, you should go through all of these, or at least most of them anyways, and see which one works best for you. But if you want to just copy my settings, go ahead and do that. I'm using the 3 inches away one. And now it should sound pretty good. It should be a basic rock tone by now. Now to make the tone smoother, we put in a tube screamer. I'm using TSC 808, another free plugin which you can download. These are the settings that I'm using. You can fiddle with them, but I recommend this setting. If you're not getting enough high-end action, I recommend turning the tone up a bit, but that's about it. Let's hear what this plugin does. Okay, now the thing that defines the glam metal era of guitar tones is the reverb and the delay. So the first thing I'm using is a reverb. I'm using the one by FabFilter, but you can use any other reverb plugin. Obviously I recommend using a medium-sized room preset, or just making it sound like that, and then adjusting it so you like the way it sounds. My wet and dry ratio is at 25%, but again, that's up to personal taste. Adjust it as you wish. So let's see what the reverb does. Okay, it makes it pretty big, which is kind of the point of that glam metal era of guitar tones. Next up is a delay. I'm using FabFilter's timeless delay. Again, you can use any other delay plugin. Here I have the wet to dry ratio set at 50%, and I'm only having one main feedback delay. It only repeats once. These are the settings that I'm going for. You can see the time here, it's at around 600 milliseconds. I'm using a stereo delay, so the times aren't exactly the same. There's a small difference just to give it more stereo width and action. And we're almost done, but not quite. So let's listen to this tone with the delay on. Okay, and the last important thing in the chain is a chorus pedal. This is a free plugin as well. It's by Mercurial Audio, and you can see the settings here as well. The depth is pretty low, the mix is a bit over 50%, and the speed is also pretty low as well, but it makes the guitar sound even bigger. So let's hear it. Okay. Now, if you'll be double tracking your guitars and panning them left and right, I would definitely recommend turning the chorus off, because otherwise you're gonna have a very hard time mixing it. There's gonna be too much mud, too much going on, and maybe even go for a mono delay if you'll be panning guitars. But if it's gonna be only one guitar, or if you're using it as a lead sound, which by the way, this is also a very good lead sound. Just go for these settings. The last thing in the chain is something that's not necessary if you're just jamming along with some songs, but if you're planning on mixing it into a full song, this is a good starting point. It's an EQ. I have quite a big takeaway at 6K because of all the fizziness that comes from these amp simulators. It's quite a normal thing. You could also try using a different cabinet impulse to get rid of it. But this is how I went about it. And I have a low pass filter at around 11K. That's where I found the fizziness, the mix of fizziness and the lack of high end to be just right. Also, obviously, you'd need a high pass filter if you were actually mixing this. But for my general purpose of just displaying the tone as it is, I didn't need to do that. So here's what the EQ does. Okay, that should be about it. I'll just give you one more walkthrough of all the plugins by turning them on as I go. But other than that, this video is basically done. So here we go. Okay, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you managed to get the glam metal tone you were looking for. Subscribe if you want to. I'm gonna be uploading more of these kind of tricks and mixing stuff. And see you next time.